Welcome to Chapter 4, the final chapter in the HDX Examiner PRO tutorial series. In this segment, we'll guide you through exporting your HDX PRO results using the Export Wizard. You'll learn how to access your export files and get an overview of the content so you can easily share your data and incorporate it into reports or for further analysis. Let's wrap things up by getting your results ready to go.
Okay, so how do we get the data out of the software? Well, as I showed you before, every view is individually exportable. However, this might prove to be a little much if we're doing this for every peptide, for every view. So we've built in an export wizard into the software that is accessible via the File menu, and click Export. And you'll be presented with a wizard that will allow you to select the result in case you have multiple results processed for this one particular project. I will choose the result that is already open. In the next step, you can set the location of your data export. So this will be the parent folder where your data will be exported into. When I click Browse, the name that I'll give it for this folder, for example, say test export, it will create a folder by this name in the location that you navigated to. So if I click Save here for test export, once everything is ready, it'll then put the data in this folder here that I've defined. The next step is to tell it what you want to export. If you want to export a single target by itself, just set it in the target state. But if you want to export a comparative analysis, I would select the control state in the control drop down here. And this time you will see that it'll have a comparative labeled right next to your states. And that additional options now appeared when a control is set that didn't appear that weren't there before when it was a single state export. So what you can export out of the software will be listed here as checkboxes. And some of them are going to be data tables, and some of them are going to be images. They're all described in the name table here with their extensions. So for example, the raw data is going to be your peptide in every single condition, every single time point with their individual uptakes in MS1 and MS2 mode. The quote-unquote Gothenburg format are just the standards that were set in 2019 in Sweden at the ICHDX conference. These are just standard formats for reporting HDX data. Comparative t-test results, those that you see on the Woods plot and the volcano plots, are exportable in CSV format, as well as every single visualization that I've shown you before. So the Woods plot are configurable. These will be exported per time point. So you can just customize them here in this export wizard. Notice that when I selected something to be exported here, when it was not selected, it didn't say anything. But when I want to export it, it'll ask me to configure it once. So once it's configured, well, before it's configured, it'll say it's not configured. But when you configure it, just click Configure and do something to it. For example, either leave it the same or change something about it. For example, I might want to change the color from blue to purple, or the font size, or I might want to set a different title. But once you're done configuring a view, you can click Done, and it'll remember that configuration. Like when you open it again, it'll be the same. And it'll say that this is ready for export. And you would do the same for all of your views in your export table that you want to put into the export bundle. For example, the kinetics plots here, you would configure this once. It'll just show you one peptide. You would configure the kinetics plot. And then when it's ready, it'll export a kinetic plot for all of the peptides in your project. So it'll basically create a folder inside of your bundle here that'll say kinetics plot, and all of the kinetics plots will be in that one folder. The peptide map is also configurable in a little different way. It'll just put that view in this window here, and anything you change in this view, for example, if I want to make the bars a little bigger, I can just change here in the title toolbars that you had before in the view. So for example, I can change the color as well and the bar size. Say that I'm happy with the configuration, click Done. Again, that peptide map is now permanently configured. And so now I can click Export, and that will create my export bundle. But before I do that, if you tend to do this type of export often, in order to save time configuring these views in the future, you can just save your configuration that you've just done here into a template file. So I can just give it a name, say template 1, and that'll store this configuration as a file so that next time you can simply just load that template and it'll already pre-populate all of these with the exact same settings that you had before, like the color purple for the wood plot, same with the peptide map. It all gets saved in a template file so that every single project could be as simple as just loading your template and clicking export. So when I click export, it'll generate all of the views and all of the exports for this. The kinetics plots may take a little while because it's exporting really high resolution images for every single peptide. So they might take a few, let's say 100 milliseconds for each peptide. And if you have a lot of conditions and a lot of peptides, that might take up to a couple minutes. Once everything is exported, that file will appear on your computer. Alright, so the export is now finished. So you can see that now the export bundle appeared at the place that I selected. If I double click that, you can see that the raw data is now in the CSV file here. And I'm just opening it on the side. Here it is. So this would be the raw data with all of the individual peptide uptakes, MS1 duration, MS2 duration, the p-value, and so on. Other than the raw data, I also exported the kinetics plot. Remember that I said that it would export one for each peptide, and it does do that. So here are the kinetics plot, for example, for a peptide from, let's say, 7 to residue 19. So these are all available in that one export bundle. Your other views are exported here, the peptide map for every single state. So I'll just open one of them. But you get one for each time point. So each time point will be exported separately. Volcano plot, same idea. It's one per time point. So here it is for one time point. Here it is for another time point. The woods plot, exact same thing. But remember that I set it to be color purple. Well, remember that. So here is the woods plot in purple for one time point and the woods plot for another time point, and so on. So this is an example of exporting all your data at once as part of an export bundle.
That concludes the HDX Examiner Pro tutorial series. Remember, you can always revisit chapters 1, 2, and 3 for guidance on setting up projects, processing data, and exploring your results. If you need any additional support, our HDX specialists at Trajan are here to help. Simply visit connect.trajanscimed.com/contact. Thank you for joining us and best of luck with your HDX analysis.